we speak about social addiction to the social media addiction, is a bit different from drug addiction, sex addiction, from all addiction they have, laziness addiction. No, laziness addiction is far more in line with that. No, people are addicted to be lazy, you know that. Some people just lazy become part of them. But that is part of a social addiction. And how this happened, I want you to follow me this tonight on how that happens. Now, if you were the only person in the world, just imagine you being the only person in this world. There's you and bats and cats and dogs and animals and things like that. Therefore, every single thing that you do now, you would not have done, or you have done it differently. Even defecating, you have done that differently from how you're doing it now. Nothing that you do now, you would have done if you were the only person alive in this world. It means, therefore, just by that alone, it takes care of all your ideas about genes and genes passing on to you from your parents and all that. It may appear so, but what really happened is that you learn. Human beings are environmental. They learn from the environment. So because you have people around you, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, wife, husband, siblings, neighbors, because of all these things that are around you, you behave in a certain way. These are the things that have shaped your behavior. These are the things that have decided your value system. So whatever you do, you saw it somewhere, you tasted it, somebody told you, you hear it. Nothing that you have done or you will do that just came to you and you alone. Once you understand that, the whole idea of social addiction will become clearer and clearer to you. Something I always say, if there was only one dog in the world, the only dog in the world was your dog. There was no other dog that your dog saw. Your dog would have behaved exactly as your dog is behaving now. It was the only dog was in the world. It's because dogs, animals are creatures of instinct. Human beings are not. And because we are creatures of instinct, our behavior, our behavioral patterns, our attitudes, all these things, we learn these things, and out of that learning, we begin to think around these things. And that's how our thinking is governed by what we have learned, not the other way around. That's how I say the thought becomes the deed. No. You learn from that first 7 years, you learn, and you develop a personality. You develop value system from what you saw all around you. And it's out of that value system, the thinking process begins. Out of that also, there's a yearning to belong. There's a yearning to belong to something, some group, some church, some YMCA, something. That yearning comes about because of how you have been socialized. And because of that socialization, everything that happens to you in life will impact from a point of it is true, based on how you have been socialized to accept what is true. Now, socialization is just a big word that you know. You know, they say, the old people used to say the chip don't fall far from the block, apple don't bear oranges. They were saying the same thing in their own jargon. They were saying socialization skill help the individual to play economic, professional, educational, religious, and political roles in his latter life. Those first 7 years lay the foundation. And based upon how those first 7 years were constructed, it determines how you deal with everything that comes in after. In primitive societies, for example, imparting skills to the younger generation in specific occupation was an important aspect of socialization. So children learn to survive in primitive societies. They learn the whole idea of hunting and gathering and the nomadic traditions and the sun, what the sun gives and what the moon and how when rain will fall, because these were skills, survival skills, and it had to be taught. You see, once that a young person had that learning process, the mind is conditioned now, and the mind is trained by all those experiences one has. Whether the feeling, taste, etc., the mind is trained by these experiences. And based upon these experiences, they fashion our behavior, and it is what we call that social phenomenon, whereby we act a certain way because of how we were trained to act. Now, when I first came face to face with this, it made me more forgiving. It made me recognize that people are not gospel hardened. It made me recognize that people just stubborn and don't love the Lord. It made me recognize that there's a value system, there's a truth-based system that they have that guides them to decide what is right and wrong. You see, what is right and wrong comes from a group. A group determines that for themselves. And for that group, everything that is outside of that group is not right. Everything outside of that group is wrong. And only what the group teaches, that they consider to be right. How do you change people then? Not by condemning them, but by showing them that your way, the way that you have been socialized, the group that you belong to, what you do, what you practice, what you say, how you speak, how you dress, all those things are more beneficial than what they are doing and what they hold as great. And that's that process of socialization. And once we understand that process of socialization, we understand the social media addiction and how you can rescue yourself from that addiction. The first thing you need to understand is that addiction is a term used by a certain society in their labeling of a behavior. I'll come more to that. The society determines that that is addiction. Maybe our next society might say that is progression, that is moving ahead, that is achievement. But the society that you belong to determine what is addiction. And they usually determine it based on harm or based on what is not normal in the society, what the society considers as normative. And there may be other systems that the society introduced to determine if this is addiction or not. So if I'm drinking every day and I'm smoking every day, I may be enjoying myself, but the society will say, no, if I can't do it without it, it's addiction. But I can't do it without food every day, and they will not say I'm addicted to food. So therefore, the society determines what is a measure that determines if you are in a state of addiction or not. I hope you're following me. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I have a nice little picture there. You look at two different pictures. You see one, the young lady is acceptable because she looks like everybody else. One, she have the butts of joke because the society determines that one is the way to go and the other is not. But another society might see the opposite of the whole thing. Why we have the issue of social addiction, social media addiction, is because the society have labeled it as that. Now, they are labeled as that not based on any airy-fairy thing, but they labeled as that based on the societal values and the observation that was done to decide that if this is addiction or not. All right, let's continue. I have a wash tub there and clothing, what we call a joking board. Now, my mother had 9 children, and she would wash clothes for all of them. My mother never asked for a washing machine. By the time she died, she couldn't live without it. Was she addicted to it? Another idea, I'm coming back to that. My mother was apart from the joking board, she never said that she needed an oven or a progress stove. She had wood fire. She would bake with fire on top and fire below. She would cook food 3 times a day on that wood fire, and for her children, 9 children. And she never asked for a progress gas stove, never asked for any console. She never asked for anything, but it was introduced to her. And by the time she died, she couldn't live without it. So therefore, the whole idea of a washing machine and a stove and all the other things she had, she never asked for any of it. But they were all given to her. And when she began use of these things, she found herself in a place where she could not do without them. And when she died, she had those things. She died, she left those things. But in her latter years, the last 15, 20 years of her life, she could not have done with all those things, although she never asked them for it. Making a point here. I hope you are getting that. You got to get this thing piece by piece, you know. Because by the time we come to addiction, addiction is defined as a chronic relapsing disorder characterized by compulsive seeking, continued use despite harmful consequences, and long-lasting changes in the brain. It is considered both a complex brain disorder and mental illness. So the society have decided that certain behavior is an addiction. You can be enjoying it as much as you want. The society will say, because of the value system of this society, your brain cannot take this, and this can only lead to your destruction. And because of that analysis of what is happening or what you are doing or what others like you are doing, the society have come to, because it's so compulsive and because you cannot do without it, the society arrive at the place and society will say that you are addicted. It's an addiction and you need certain help. You know, Edward Bulwer Lytton, he said the pen is mightier than the sword. What he meant by that? He meant that the pen can destroy more people than the sword could. The pen can do it faster than the sword could. The pen can do it to minds that are silent, than the sword cannot keep silent. The pen can send a message further. The sword cannot go more than from where the sword is doing the chopping and the slashing. So he said the pen is mightier than the sword. The pen can destroy countries and relationships and destroy people's character and integrity, and the pen can do all this. So if the pen can do all this, Lytton said that the pen is mightier than the sword. But if the pen is mightier than the sword, and even when you write, you still have to get a postman, you still have to go, how they used to do it a long time when they had, what they call it, telegram and things like that. Then what will we say? How would we conclude the internet? We will have to say that the internet is mightier than the bomb because it is fast. It moves at the speed of light. It moves like lightning. And people are addicted sometimes to the internet, and sometimes they are addicted to what is on the internet. It's something you have to study carefully to see what is really the addiction. Is the addiction simply the internet? There are some people, they're going to a state of derision if there's no data. And you recognize having a phone or a computer without data, they don't feel to open it. So you are speaking about a different type of addiction. And then there are certain things they want to get on that internet. And if that site is down, if it's moving slow, they are totally frustrated. So you say they are addicted to what is on the internet. So when Edward Bulwer Lytton said, the pen is mightier than the sword, he was speaking for his time. In my time, I can say the internet is mightier than the bomb because there is nothing as destructive, there's nothing as far-reaching, there's nothing that can implement so much in such a short time than the internet. No wonder it has given us that sort of addiction. But I want to tell you a secret this evening. Don't tell anybody. The internet is not addictive in itself. Social media is not addictive in itself. It's not addictive because you are weak. It's not addictive because there are other things you saw there that you like. So because those things are there, it became addicted. It is addictive because it was created for that set purpose to be addictive. This was the reason why machine was fashioned in front of my mom, and she moved from that fireside and she wanted a washing machine. Because it was sold to her without her asking, without her thinking about it, it was sold. It was sold that this is the way to go. You need this. Your life will be better with it. Without it, life will continue to be harsh. You know, Thomas Hobbes, English philosopher, said life was supposed to be nasty, very brutish and short. Life was not supposed to be kind and loving. He said it's a brutish thing, and he was looking at the life for the poor and the middle class. And he said the majority of the people, life is nasty, brutish, and short. But I want to say to you, for the majority who are into social media, it is created. The high-tech companies had the best minds to create apps and programs to catch attention. And as my mother got things that she didn't ask for, it become part of your life, by giving you things that you never asked for, that you never thought was there. And you get up on YouTube, even while you are viewing a movie, there's a whole lot of movie going down the side for you to be enticed. And once your mouse touched on anyone, they began to speak and things began to play beside you, introduce you to something that you have not gone for. You have decided you're going to search, you are doing a research, you're going to search, get material for that research. And when you get there, while you're there, you pull up YouTube or Facebook, whatever, they are saying things on the side to you to attract you, to keep you there. And then after a while, you spend 4 or 5 hours there and you recognize you did very little. That was the purpose. It was made, it was designed to be addictive, because addiction means money. Because those who the crack and the cocaine and the drugs and the alcohol and the brothels, and these things are designed to make you addicted so that they will make money. And it's the same thing when you come to social media. It's not running there because somebody feels good to give you give you a chance to learn things. No. Almost everything, almost everything, there's a cost there. Facebook and Instagram and other media, other types of social media, they activate the brain reward center by providing a sense of social acceptance in the form of likes and positive feedbacks. In other words, it offers instant gratification. When you share something, whether it is a photo or a funny video, an emotionally deep status update, instant likes and other notification will let you know how people feel about what you are doing. And that feeling drives something in you. That you recognize people admiring, and the supportive comments can provide a significant self-esteem boost. And as a high number of likes, after a while, you might come to crave this affirmation, especially when having a tough time. And once you continue to do it over time, it become your coping mechanism. Just as a drug becomes the coping mechanism for the addict or for the sex addict, just how those things become, it becomes the same way, because it gives you instant gratification. It lifts your feeling. It helps you to deal with negative feeling. It brings a substance that you can't touch or taste or feel, but it is there in the brain. It touches the dopamine in the brain and cause that happy feeling by just putting those things there. And that is where your addiction for the whole thing begins. The addiction leads to a level of distraction. It diminishes our focus and takes away our ability to get meaningful things done. Every time you get a like that dopamine in the brain begin to excite you, make you happy, make you feel joyful, whatever your problem was, it's put aside for a time because folks are liking this thing. It's an attack on your different sensual nerves. And they all focus differently. And that's why you are tied into all of them. YouTube focus is different from Facebook. And Facebook is different from Instagram, although they own the same company, but the two platforms are different, focusing differently. They are focusing to every sensual nerve that whoever goes there will have. So I may not like Facebook, or I may not like Instagram or YouTube, but I like TikTok. So it all is geared to drive that dopamine in the brain, to keep your desire away from boredom. So after a while, you recognize that anytime I am bored, there's a place I can go. And once I get there, there's some joy that I can have. So you keep going. You keep going because it's bringing a sense of satisfaction. And then how do you defend against that? You know, Proverbs 22:6 said, train up a child in the way he should go. Train up a child in the way he should go. Train up a child in the way he should go. So therefore, the train of the child is in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart. The training comes first. And once the child is trained in a certain way, it affects the child now in a positive or negative way, depends on the training that you give that child. And if you train that child in a positive way, out of that positive way that you train that child, the thinking process will start. It's not genes, it's not the thought and then the deeds. No. You train first to behave in a certain way. And then out of that training comes the whole idea. It becomes the whole idea of what I will think and what I will do. They train the child to go to church, have manners, say please, be honest. It's out of that the child thinks. It's out of that foundation. That's why E.G. White says, keep the child for seven years, and after 7 years, that training, that instinct is out of that 7 years. When the child begins to see the world for himself, he begins to think. But he has nothing to think on. He's not a dog, not a pigeon. The only thing he can think on is that foundation that was given to him or her. And it's out of that foundation, the thinking process begins. So therefore, how do you protect your children? By training them in a way that they should go. And once they are trained in that way that they should go, when they are old, the Bible said, they will not depart. And even if they depart for a time, you know, my dad used to say, if you don't know a road and somebody give you a direction to that on that road and grass grow over that road, you will never be able to find it regardless of the direction you have. And then he said, but if you had once knew a road, and after a while you went and grass grew over that road, you will find it because there was a road that you once knew. But it's the same thing with your children. Once you train them in the way they should go, even when they stumble and fall, they will return because that's the training. And it's out of that training came the thinking. What does this have to do with social media and addiction? We are coming to it. We are coming to it. The child's socialization is important, that when he comes here, she comes up against the wiles of the enemy. And it's the devil, you know. I want to make you know that social media is also a form of demon possession. I remember I was called to this young girl. She was working in the bank. And while they were fooling around, a friend in the bank told her there's a site that she can go to. And on that site, she can find a a voice she can talk to and will answer all her questions. So she opened her computer in the night and she opened up the site and said, "What is my name?" And out of the computer, the voice came, "Your name is," whatever her name was, the voice said her name. She asked the second question, "Who am I home with?" And the voice came out of the computer and said, "You are home with Mary." So she said, "No, who am I home with?" And the voice told her that about 4 or 5 times, but she was home with her grandmother. So she went to her grandmother and said, "Grandma, is your name Mary?" And the grandmother said to her, "When I was a little girl, they used to call me Mary." And she got all scared because all her life with her grandmother, 23 years with her grandmother, she never heard anybody refer to her grandmother as Mary. So she ran and decided to come out of the website. She couldn't come out. And the thing keeps saying, "You're there with Mary. You are home with Mary." So she had to pull the plug out of the system to get the system to go off. And when it went off, she went to her bed. And as she lay in bed, she heard this voice continue to say, "You are home with Mary. You are home with Mary." She couldn't sleep, so her father brought her to me. But what I'm trying to say, I don't want to digress. The whole idea of channeling, it comes through also social media. Remember, the devil is not only active, he's passive also. So don't think when something is passive, it is because it's cool. And the only time it is active is when there's frothing at the mouth and cursing and things like that. No, no, no. The devil can be calm too. Let's continue. Keep in mind that. Let's move on. Nicholas G. Carr, who is a business technologist, he does some article for sociology magazines also. He said, when we go online, we enter an environment that promotes cursory reading, hurried and distracting thinking, and superficial learning. I know for some of you, when we speak about the whole idea of the computer, a lot of the argument, social media is good for you. Social media, some say social media is bad. Some say it's both bad and good. Some say it's only bad. Some say it's only good. And those arguments there, doing his research, and you can walk through your mind through it for yourself. He said, when we enter an environment, it promotes cursory reading when we go online, hurried and distracted thinking, and superficial learning. So what he's saying, you're not reading, you're not thinking, and you're not learning. You may think you are thinking, you may think you are learning, you may think you are reading, but all those things may be better had if you took out a book. It is not happening. There are some people who do papers for me, 20-something pages. And when I ask them about things in the very paper, they don't know it. Now, if they were reading a book and pulling the ideas from the book, they would have known most of the things. But since it's going to the internet, cutting and pasting, this is good, that is good, at the end of the day, you did not read, he said, you did not think, and you did not learn. So there are people coming out of school with good grades, but they don't know the subject matter. There are people who finish entire courses because they have been online, pulling source here, but they don't know anything about what they studied or what was discussed. And this is the problem. What drives them there is the whole idea that because it's a social phenomenon, you are addicted without knowing it. The guy on drug addiction, he might tell you he's not, but deep in his heart, he knows that things are not going the way it should. The guy who's a sex addict, he knows. Whatever addiction, gambling, he knows. He might tell you no, but he knows. There's something he knows that is happening to him that he wants to stop, but he cannot. But the only time you will know if you are addicted to social media, if there's something actually happening that make you recognize it, as how tonight I'm going to drive you to it to know if you are addicted or not. Because it's of a social nature, you hardly ever recognize that you are addicted. You know, according to the literature, you are addicted to social media if the following is happening to you. And let us look at these things now. Here's the following. One, you are preoccupied by social media. And what I mean by that? What I mean by that? I mean the first thing in the morning and throughout the night, you turn the car around, whatever happened, you are into social media. Nothing is more important to you than social media. It gathers all your thought processes. It's taking up social media. When that is happening, you have come to the place to recognize that you cannot do without it. You are going through a meeting and you find the meeting is taking too long to finish because you want to get back to your devices. You forget your device at home, and the whole morning was a one of struggle. We will come more to that in one of the phases. Other phase is you use it to reduce negative feelings. And you understand that. You create false relationship. It is a place where you spread gossip and you get even. It's a place where you go into stalking. You are keeping tabs on others. You are trying to read behind the lines of the posts of friends and enemies. Someone posts something and you are reading deep in it because you are trying to reduce negative feelings. One generally agree on symptoms of social media addiction is the use of social media to improve a negative mood. Sometimes going there, you feel better. Maybe you want to escape the workplace difficulties or to fight with your partner. So you look to Facebook or Instagram, you look at these things just to feel better. Someone talking to you and you are fed up with them and you pull out your phone and you go on scrolling down, you're taking them on, and they see that you are not taking them on. Because when you get there, you see something that you like and it eases all that frustration that you may have. Maybe you are stressed about a project you are working on. So you use the time. So you set aside for that project to scroll through social media. Using social media to delay your work can make you feel like you're still getting something done when you really aren't. According to Harvard research by Springer, you think you are getting something done, but really and truly, you are not getting anything done. If these things I'm saying, anyone, I'm giving you 4 of them, 5 of them, if anyone fit with you, then you know we need to talk about the second half of the lecture, how to deal when you are addicted. 3, you gradually use it to get the same pleasure from it. You know, as a drug addict, you take a better high and the next high, every time you want something, you want something a little more raunchy, so you can take him into a high. You live in the moment and you forget about the problems that don't go away and thus keeping you in a state of anxiety. You change your status often to give a false expression. And some of you say, no, but think about why you changed your last status or the one before. You recognize most of the time you change it to give a certain impression. Sometimes about yourself. Sometimes we do a picture, you bring a picture that looks so different from how you look. And you put things there because it gives you that self. You struggle to live in an unreal world. Because everyone in that world there seem happy. And you wonder, how is your life not like theirs? Because they are posting happy pictures and happy time and happy places that they went to. And you also are thinking, well, they're all happy. And then you post some happiness also. And that person also viewing you, think that you are happy too. So it drives us all to live in a world that is not real. Hardly anybody posts a picture of when they woke up in the morning and that wake up face. Hardly anybody posts a picture of someone buffing them or they're making a very terrible mistake about something. Hardly anyone posts a picture on their worst side, doing their worst things. So what you post are pics and events because you want to live in the world that you are seeing on the social media, on the Facebook, on the YouTube. You want to live in that world. And because you have a desire to live in that world, you begin to do these things and you do it often and over and you can't stop doing it. And the more somebody says they like it, the more you want to do it. And the more you want to put stranger things, that is part of the addiction. You may say it is, no, I can walk away anytime I want. That's what most addicts say. I've met very often cigarette smokers who say to you, I can stop tomorrow, stop tomorrow away. Not in this life. And that's what happened to you. You can say, I can walk away and close off all these social media. And if you can do it, well, then you're not addicted. But very few of us can do it. 4, you suffer the stress if you are prohibited from using social media. If there's no data, if your device is malfunctioning, I said that earlier, if you're in a meeting and you can't use your screen in the meeting, you put it down by your leg, you want to see something. If you left your device at home, you feel like a fish out of water. And the first thing you do when you get home is you pick up that device. Those are the symptoms of your addiction. If there's no charge on your phone, you're getting a headache, you're running here, begging someone you don't know, you have a 5-minute charger. Running a room, anybody have a charger? Because you are addicted to it. Morning time, first thing, last thing in the night. Some people get up at night and open it up to see if anything happened. They want to be there. They want to be with the time, all the time and every time. Then the most dangerous of all, you sacrifice other obligations or cause harm to other life areas. You see, when it becomes compulsive, when the social media become compulsive, compulsive use often causes sleep disruption or sleep deprivation. You might go to bed and later get up late and get up later, or fail to get enough sleep as a result of staying up late. All of this can result in a range of health issues that you will suffer. Social media can also affect your mental health. If you tend to compare your life to what others are presenting on social media, you always feel that sense of inadequacy. You always feel that sense to disrupt. You feel that sense that you're not achieving. You feel that sense that will take you down that path to this disruption. Your relationship also might also suffer, since compulsive social media use can leave you with less time for your partner, for your children, for your wife, for your students, for whatever. Or they can contribute to romantic dissatisfaction. And I hope when the person speak about sexual addiction, they speak about that dissatisfaction that comes from social media. I don't want to go into that because I saw that as part of the thing that's supposed to be covered. You might feel jealous of your partner's interaction with other people. So you begin to stalk your partner now. Or experience retroactive jealousy when you're looking at photos of your ex. Time gone, man gone. But you still harboring this jealousy and this anger. You can also become a replacement of sort for face-to-face interaction. You become so much into it that you don't care about anybody. You have enough time there. You have enough likes. You have enough things to like. You have enough things to see. You're going and going. You have no time to go out. You have no time to be. And it can lead you to a feeling of isolation and loneliness. This is the addictive behavior. And I'm certain those 5 things, some of you, if not all of you, have one or more than one of the things that you saw there. I'm certain. Despite trying to limit your use, you can end up right back. So I want to deal with how can you recover from this addiction. But just telling you you're addicted and be closed off, that makes no sense. You gotta know how can you recover from this addiction. Now, despite trying to limit your use, you end up right back. You know, you end up right back. You may try and you end up right back on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on wherever. Whenever you have a free moment, maybe you set a daily limit of checking Facebook only once in the morning and once in the evening. So you say, I'm going to deal with it this way. But on your lunch break, you get bored and tell yourself there's nothing wrong with a quick look after a day or two. And that's exactly how the addicts operate. They say, I'll stop, but then every time they jump back in and try something again. After a day or two, your old patterns return. If you manage to stay off, you might feel restless, anxious, or irritated until you have to start back that use again. Now, some of you may have tried to stop, and what I just said there, you can relate to. But I want to give you a 4-step approach without God. I want to tell you, with God, I can give you a 1-step approach. But I don't want to do anything that's superficial. And just say, hold on to his unchanging hand. Hold on to prayer and Bible study and read. Gird up your loins. And I leave you here and you give a practical response. So I'm going to give you the God response, but I'll give you a 4-step practical response first. Then I will tell you how to merge God into that response to make sure it happens. But friend, it is a serious thing. 1, delete all social media apps for 1 day. You start with a 1-day mileage. Don't go and say, I'm going to delete this thing, because you will not. You'll fall right back into it. So you set goals that are achievable. So you say, for 1 day, I'm going to delete all these social media. You start with a day offline, then try a week. Then the first few days might feel difficult, but as time passes, you may find it easier to stay off because it's a part of socialization. You are trained to be who you are. You are not who you are because of any gene. Any psychologist listening to me now, I'm teaching you over. You are no genes that is doing that. It is a process of socialization that shapes your very thinking. Things you see, you pattern. So the young girl is singing a lot, and they say, well, she got that from her mother, you know, because the grandmother used to sing too. And that gene they have, no. She learned that prenatally. When the mother was singing, washing the dishes and singing in the bathroom and singing in the gallery and singing, she is learning, because singers sing all the time. Singers don't only sing when they're in church, you know, but when they're on the stage, you know, they sing all the time. So the little infant there learning to sing. Some children come out fearful and they're always cringing because father is a beast, beating life out of the mother. The child is taking that thumping there all the time. It's the same way. When you stay off something for a day, a week, you are socializing. Remember I said socialization, it doesn't stop. It goes on through life. That's how you learn things. And what you learn becomes the foundation for what you will think about. So it continues to go on. The first few days might feel difficult, but as time passes, you'll find it easier to stay off. The time away may help you reconnect with loved ones. And sometimes we have lost that touch. It may help you reconnect with the loved ones and spend time on other activities. You may also find your mood improves when you are not using these social media, because you are not seeing things that are upsetting, things that you cannot reach, things that make you feel less than a person. So you find your mood seem to be better. If you still find it difficult to stay off social media, try occupying your time with new hobbies. Try to get with Oh, Sister George, who's going on the field sometimes. Or if not, try listening to some gospel music and try to sing along. Best way to do it, pull up on the very social media you're talking about. You pull up this gospel song with lyrics and you sing and you sing and you sing and you sing. And after a while, you recognize you can do without this whole thing. And then you begin to do something else that will take you away from it. But it will be a gradual climb away. Number 2. Refine your inputs. There was a time when there was no social media and you lived well. You had your friends. So now you're becoming aware of the purpose of your use and then determining if that aligns with how you truly value spending your time. Think about how much time you spend on this thing. And then begin to ask yourself, is this a valuable way that I'm spending my time? Then you stick with your break. Try taking the app off your phone and logging out in your browser to make it easier. To make it harder to access. So you take off the app, continue. Delete it off the phone. Take it off the phone. And leave it in your browser. It didn't go anywhere. You're not destroying it. But it will be harder to access if it's in the browser. If you use social media to improve your mood, you might not notice right away that using social media actually makes you feel worse. But as time goes on, you recognize that you are feeling better and better. Because some people feel it makes them feel better. No, it makes you feel worse. It makes the challenge in life become a little harder, a little more difficult. It challenges you. Try jotting down your mood or emotional state, both before and after using social media. You could do it now or tonight. Check your mood before and after. Pay attention to specific feelings like envy, depression, or loneliness. Identify why you are feeling them. If you can, to try and counter negative thoughts, then you begin to understand that there's something that is doing to you. For example, maybe you leave social media thinking, I wish I were in a relationship. Everyone on Facebook looks so happy. They are posting their boyfriend or their girlfriend as their status picture, as their profile picture. But I don't have anybody to post. And then I may have a boyfriend who said to me, don't post me there, because he has his own reason why he doesn't want to be posted there. So you are leaving the place now feeling that you need to get a boyfriend. Or you might have a friend or a few friends who posted there somewhere there in New York or somewhere in Toronto, and all of a sudden you feel that you should be there in New York and in Toronto. I want you to consider this. Those photos you need to consider this. Those photos don't tell me how they really feel. Always say that. When I see a picture, just how I post a picture, and it's not saying how I feel at this point. Therefore, those pictures that they are posting, it doesn't really say how they feel. And said, I haven't found anyone yet, but maybe I can try harder to meet someone. No, I haven't found anyone yet because I am doing things and it will happen if God wants it to happen. Let's go on. Try to finish in the next 5 minutes. 3, reclaim your attention. Now, how do you reclaim your attention? You delete all notifications and messages that you may feel that you may have on your device. All messages, all those notifications, delete them. All messages that you have, because when you're going through and scrolling through, you come back those messages, and those messages come with different feeling in it. So you delete all those messages. Aim to decrease use with fewer logins or less time spent online each week. Gradually reducing the time you spend on the site each week. You might also choose to limit the number of posts you make each week. I'm going different ways to get this thing done. Done. And depending on your current use, you recognize I got to decrease my current use. So you make a log of what you did, time spent, and you're reversing and you're going back. Until you come to the place where you recognize, hey, I did it. Then for those who are extremely weak, implement systems to block future you. Future you. To block you in the future. See? Move your phone out of sight. Move the apps off your phone, as I said before, off the screen, and you use focus or freedom apps on your devices. Now, focus apps is what you will get if you have an iPhone. Freedom is an app you can get for your Android. You download those apps. Those apps will help you focus. It will take away things that you're not supposed to see. Social media makes it much easier to stay in touch with friends. We know this, and loved ones. And so you say, well, if I get off this thing, what will happen? You will tell yourself that. But it can also have a downside. And remember, the downside is greater. As we go back to Nicholas Carr, when he says hurried thinking is something learning, and when you look at it, there's nothing you are doing there. You're not thinking, you're not reading, and you're not learning. So when folks who still put it in their head is good. I know you Christians love saying it is good. You know, we are in lockdown now. I can post a little Bible thing for my friend, and I can post a little Bible thing for this person, and I can post it. I will tell you something now. Going back to the process of socialization, the mind will not accept anything from outside of the group easily. So when you post this thing for your friends, thinking they are looking at it, you may see they open it, but they will not. If it's something with Kamala, Custon, Rory, they may open that. Or somebody, some bacchanal going on in our backyard, they open that. Or Polish, they may open that. But when you present your thing of Jesus and things, you may think so. But people usually open things that they are interested in. So it says something like that for me, I will open it. But it says something like that for the guy shooting up in the night and rob, he hardly opened that. If he's a friend, he just opened it for you to see that it was open, and he deleted that thing and he move on. So this big hooray that we think that we are making with this social thing by sending things and saying here, friend, think again. We think that, we think that, we think that. Because people hardly open things that is not in their group spec, that is not within their whole group law. The group think, the dynamics of the group think alike. And that's why you find there are 341 million people in America, and a pollster would do a poll with 1,200 people, and the poll will be as accurate as if he had polled everybody. And I say, how is that? Because the group think alike. Something they call group think. In a group, I don't know how many of you listen to this presentation. If I want to know if you all learned how the presentation was, I don't have to take everyone. I can just take about 10 or 12 persons, and their view will cover the view of the group if I should do it randomly and scientifically. I cover the demographics and I pull it together. That's what because the group think alike. If you're going to church and you speak about homosexuality as a bad thing, most of the people there will say, yes, it's bad. But if I get in a different place and I speak about homosexuality being bad, I may not find so much support for that statement because the group that I'm going to may not have that same group think as the church group. So, going back to where I started before I went this week, it can also be, so social media makes it much easier to stay in touch with friends and loved ones. That is true, but it can also have a downside, especially if you use it to cope with unwanted emotions. Understand, you get there and you're dealing with your emotions and you're doing different things that would not help. The good news is social media, less can keep it from having a negative impact on your life. You can do it. And if you cannot do it, that's where the good Lord comes in. It's often possible to cut back by yourself. But if you are having trouble, you need to call somebody, a therapist, a Christian therapist, your pastor, your elder, some senior person in the church. You need to call someone. Because when the Bible said, in my final slide, when the Bible said, wherefore, 1 Peter 1:13, wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind, because it's never forget that God being the ultimate power, he can help you, because after you move from that stage of socialization and you begin to think according to that socialization, remember, the reason why you are so into Facebook, because the group is into Facebook. It is what your group is into, is what the society is into, is what the world is into. So you not being into that, you may feel that you are not part of. And the process of socialization is to keep you being part of. But you must feel that you are part of. So if everybody who is into this, you may feel that not being into it, it means that you are different. Something is wrong with you, but nothing is wrong with you. And like Peter said, gird up the loins of your mind. Be sober and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus. Gird up your minds. Let the things that you do fall in harmony with the word of God. Call out if you can. Let someone who has been there be there for you. And as you work this thing, you recognize after a while, I can do without this thing. And then you see how happy you become, how more satisfied you become with this life. Then you recognize the same way the drug addict feels when he becomes free from that. You recognize, hey, that's the same feeling I'm having. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor Brown. We have one question. In this age where we learn the term new normal and most children are home from school, what advice will you give them to tune out from the social media? Because I know they have Zoom classes, they have different things on social media. So what advice you'll give them for them to tune out? Because they can't interact with friends as normal. So they want to know what you will tell them to do instead of being on social media.
Form study group, especially if you are home and you are having all your stuff by tablets or by devices. Now is a good time when you finish with a teacher that you spend some more time doing study groups. And if your purpose in your heart to share something, those who are Christians and have non-Christian friends, you can share study group also with a very gospel thing. And now I'm saying these things are so far removed from what is happening, as you said, the new normal, that I'd rather give them those step-by-step procedure. It's step by step by step, but I'm saying nothing beats a committed Christian in presenting that to God as their friends.